QB Power Hour webinar series, your bi-weekly dose of insights and learning for accounting professionals with co-host Dan DeLong, and along with Matthew Spot Fulton, we're here to explore the latest in the industry, QuickBooks, and integrations that matter to you. For more details on the series, visit qbpowerhour.com. Before we get started with the main content, we want to cover a few housekeeping tips. Any handouts or resources mentioned today will be provided for download, so no frantic note-taking required. If you miss anything or want to revisit a section, don't worry. Video and audio replays of this session will be available after the webinar. For everyone joining us live on Zoom, please use the Q&A panel for content-specific questions so we can address them directly during the session or follow up after the session. If you've got general comments or want to chat with your fellow attendees, use the chat feature. We love seeing your thoughts and reactions.
We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
Well, here we are. Hi, Matthew. How are you?
Doing great, Dan, and yourself?
Fantastic. So this is Matthew's first attempt at sharing all the documents. So I appreciate you sharing in that burden while things are launching, and it's great to see you. How are you doing?
Doing great. You know, first I got to give a shout out to Linda and Rachel both, who helped fill in for me for the last couple episodes while I took a little bit of time down. So looks like you just got the handouts out there today, and I'm doing good. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, today is, welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. Today we're going to be talking about what we were going to be talking about last week, but got hijacked by the login vulnerabilities and pricing changes updates. So hopefully we'll get through all the content here today on the spend management tasks that are available inside of QuickBooks. So as you know, my name is Dan DeLong, owner at Danwith and School of Bookkeeping, and currently working on the latest version of the QBO for Dummies series. So there's yet another one. I can't imagine with everything that's changing how they're going to keep their mind settled for something that's in print, but it's a nice little project. So Matthew.
And I'm Matthew Fulton, founder of Parkway Business Solutions and creator of QB Community Live Facebook group. I do a lot of work around like big data manipulation projects, migration stuff, but really my true passion is working around the API. So working with app companies that are creating apps to connect to QBO. I'm guessing there's going to be a whole bunch of them out there now, since they're changing how the pricing of all that stuff works, that may need to adjust their code to mitigate the cost, of course, of doing all that stuff. So I'm a techie nerd, basically.
All right. And of course, a little bit about the Power Hour webinar details. It's every other Tuesday at noon Eastern. They are eligible for CPE credit through the Earmark app. You can check out those links there to get to the course and get your CPE credit, but live webinars are not eligible for CPE. So we appreciate you joining us here today. So,
There we go. Haha, hiccups. Too soft keyboard.
So today's agenda, we're going to be talking. Matthew and I we're talking about like each Power Hour, we would kind of want to have like a hot topic type of thing that we talk about. And that's what derailed us last week because all we talked about was the hot topic and not the tepid, lukewarm topic of what we were trying to cover as far as the expense claims. But today we're going to be talking about the modern report issues that have been reported, no pun intended. But then we'll be working on the expense claims and the online bill pay stuff inside of QuickBooks. So let's go ahead and get started with our first polling question. Or no, did you go too far?
The keyboard, like you got to click the screen, then push the arrow, that kind of silly thing. PowerPoint, I guess I could just click the button down there. I'll do that instead.
Yeah. All right.
I guess I'm a noob.
So there were a couple posts in our Facebook group that caught my attention because modern reports. I don't know, Matthew. What is your take or thought on modern this modern reports initiative, I guess.
I think the real power of modern reports really comes into play with advanced, where you're able to get deeper down into the line item detail when you want to create your own customized modern reports. The thing I've been disappointed about is they really promised us that if you had your own customized reports in the old version, that they were going to make sure they migrated over to the modern reports and you didn't lose anything. And I'm not hearing that to be completely true. And maybe that's part of what's causing the challenges that you're kind of talking about here now.
Yeah, we're in this this phase right now where some people have modern reports, some people don't. There's the ability to switch from classic view to modern view. So this is the time period where things seem to go haywire when there is an initiative like this, right? We saw this with the modern invoice updates, the new experience for invoicing and the changes that were taking place. Where did this go, right? Why are we breaking? Why are we fixing this when it wasn't broken? And really, this boils down to, with regards to accounting professionals, ProAdvisors, even business owners, decisions are going to be made based on reports, and having accurate data in that report is necessary, right? And when that is called into question, then basically everything is up in question. And what was happening, there were a couple of issues where people were switching between the classic view and the modern view where the numbers were different. So just switching between classic and modern view shouldn't be a problem, right? I mean, shouldn't be an issue. But the fact that you would be switching and those numbers were different, in one particular person's case, a client brought it up to them, right? And of course, that called all this into question. Like, well, the books aren't, you're not doing what you said you were going to be doing. And
the work's not accurate, blah, blah, blah.
There's a credibility issue, between, client and an accountant. And it's all for nothing, it's not necessary when all it is just a switch, right? Switching between the two. If you do come across this situation, there is a relatively simple option of hitting refresh. And it's not the browser refresh, it is the report refresh. So if you start with classic and then you switch to modern and the numbers are different, this was only happening, by the way, for historical date ranges, right? So you probably notice that when you do switch from classic to modern, the dates don't hold, right? Which then causes that, okay, well, I got to change it to last year or whatever it was, but the numbers were actually different. in the upper right. Actually, why don't I just share my screen?
So you're talking about like if you go to your the accountant tools report options and you can set up that you always want it to be like last year, that type of situation?
Not that. Let me just pop into, come on now. gotta sneak up on it. And we had done a QB Power Hour last year about modern reports, and I think it's linked in the articles there. But this little icon here will let you know when you're looking at a report whether it's going to launch in Modern View or not.
Yeah.
But this one here, this balance sheet will launch into Classic View, right? So if I'm doing this, this is just a dummy account. If I do last year,
you're showing my financials.
Ooh. Right.
So as we're going through this in the comments, everybody, put a 1 if you like the modern reports, put a 2 if you don't.
This one actually isn't giving me the choice to switch to Modern View. Okay, well that's a bad example. And then here in so this one gives me the option to switch to Classic View, but this one that launches in Classic View doesn't give me the option to switch to Modern View. Excellent. Okay, well this is a bad example, but let me see if I can find one that does launch and switch, gives me the ability to switch. Because I'm in a QBOA, so that might not be the greatest thing. Okay, so let me just launch a modern report here. Sorry about that. The penalty of doing things as on the fly and the live.
Oh, we got two. Okay, we got 2 1s and a 1.75 out of everybody else, pretty much. So,
all right. So up in here, this where it says last updated a few seconds ago. This is the refresh that I'm referring to.
That's a great point.
Not the browser refresh, because it used to say run report or something like that over here, or something like that. This little guy here is the refresh that you want to refresh if you are seeing that switching back and forth between Classic and Modern View does not show the exact same data or the exact same numbers. So if you want to share the slide again.
So to recap what you were just saying there from the whole thing, the challenge is Modern View reports are not showing the same as the old version reports. If you experience the challenge on the Modern View report towards the top right, you're going to see the 2 little circle arrows. That's your refresh the report, and that should solve the challenge, correct?
That's what I was able to determine from Lynn, who was posting about the problem. We remoted it in, and we could try all sorts of different reports, and just that refresh solve the issue for that. Now, that is not for us to maintain. This is to fix it, right?
It's a temporary band-aid is the goal. Yeah. Right. Okay.
To at least give you reliable reports. So we want to go back to the prior slide there. Nope, that one. So I just want to talk about these best practices, right? It's inevitable, right? This is not something that we're going to resist and cause this not to occur, because this is not the first time that reports have been modified as far as the change, and nobody is talking about loving the reports that was before Classic View, right? So this is for a good reason, right? Like there are some fundamental reporting issues with Classic reports, especially when they're large reports.
Yes. Great
majority, a lot of people printing out the general ledger report, and then you get to that load more at the bottom, and then load more and load more and load more, and eventually it says I'm done creating this report because I can't. It ran out of the internet. I don't know what.
I can't query the database that far and display it in the same time. So
So this is going to solve a lot of those reports and those reporting issues with speed of pulling in that data and large amounts of data.
Okay.
So Modern Reports is an initiative that's not going to go away, but we are going to be able to make it better by providing the feedback to be able to make it better. All right. But to your point, in this period of time, especially around tax season, you want to have, as I think somebody mentioned, I don't care what it looks like. I just want it to work. Which is certainly an understandable perspective, and totally understand the challenges of not having reports show accurate data, because it is, I worked with a guy at Intuit who was a data analysis, and he had this saying that was, in God we trust, all others bring actionable data.
Okay.
Which, you need data in order to make decisions. And if you have something that is questioning that, it is not, it's not a great experience, across the board. But this is something that is not something that we're going to hold on to classic reports to work with, because it needs to be improved across the board. And it sucks. I think that's the technical term for it, when it's not working properly.
So I'm going to move us on to our first polling question so we can make sure to get through our other stuff we've got here, if you don't mind launching that bad boy for us.
Yeah. So what version of QuickBooks do you currently support with your clients? Is it online, desktop, or both? And we're doing something new with Power Hour, some things to keep the lights on. We're doing spotlight sponsors, and we've got a couple that we're going to talk about throughout. We're not going to, belabor the issue. I just wanted to point that out. That Method CRM is one of our first spotlight sponsors. They're just going to have a messaging or mentioning, I should say, throughout each webinar, and then they'll come on later to talk about a little bit more deeper of what they do. But you'll see those on the poll questions as we get through those, if you're wondering. Did you launch the
I'm sorry, I asked you if you could do that. I was wondering why everybody was.
I'm sorry. Where are the
I'm like, everybody's putting it in the chat. At first I was like, QBO. I'm like, what are they doing?
It doesn't matter where you put it in. If you put it in the chat, if you put it we're not taking these are not for CPE credit or anything like that. It is nice for us to know whether you support both QuickBooks desktop or online, or lean more towards one or the other.
We also are finding it interesting to watch over time the transition. We're trying to see maybe what happens there specifically. So we shall see. So as that goes, we can close that down here in a second, and then we'll start diving into the next one as soon as we're.
All right. Okay. Yeah. It looks like both is leading the way here.
Both.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Desktop only, a mere 3% is what I'm seeing here. So it is a sign of the times.
That's interesting. Very cool.
All right, so let me go ahead and share the results there. So 61% both, 35 QBO only, and QB desktop only is at 3%. So I keep interrupting you, Matthew.
No, not at all. It was good stuff there. So I was kind of surprised. It seems like we've been leading more towards QBO, but now there's a bit more with both. But everything we're going to be talking about from this point really is focused, of course, on QBO, QuickBooks Online, just so everybody's kind of aware. And we're talking about the new expense claims. So you want to take it away from here, talking about this stuff?
So we want to first frame this up that this is QuickBooks Online Advanced only, or potentially Intuit Enterprise Suite. if you have clients in there as well. But the expense claim is an option to be able to allow your employees to capture receipts on their mobile device and categorize them without giving them keys to the capital to be able to do that. And I think the biggest challenge, and Matthew, maybe you can speak to that as well with clients that need to track and capture receipts, is employee adoption of whatever technology that needs to collect that information. Is that, would you
100%.
say that's a fair?
I mean, I think that's why so many of the different expense apps always have difficulty is when you have a company you're trying to get buy-in, it's not good enough if you only have 25% of the people doing it. You've got to get everybody to do it. As the accountant, this is a little bit different, but it's somewhat the same. I've got one client that's now connected to Amazon Business and they're pulling stuff in that way, and they're adding these different receipts in, and you like just the images of them to try to match the transactions. And I'm finding that to be very irritating because I'm not Canadian and I don't have to have all the supporting documents. To all my fellow Canadians out there, you guys are amazing. And it's slow and cumbersome to do the matching and the work of all that stuff. So with the expense management side of it, I hope the matching when it comes to the bank feed stuff as well doesn't cause any, well, I guess it wouldn't be in bank feed. What am I talking about? Because that's separate, but yeah.
Well, it is kind of connected, right? Because the way that expense claims work in QBO Advanced is those receipts and those transactions ultimately go into the receipt management portal for you to create the expense transaction inside of the bank feed. So then it will ultimately match.
Well, but it wouldn't be in a bank. I would think expense claims would be somebody running something on their own card and having to get reimbursed.
Not
necessarily, huh?
Yeah. This is not a reimbursement. This is an expense claim that they're doing, because all this is going into the receipt management area, which then feeds into the bank feed. So
okay, so it is the same area there. Okay.
The use case is the employees using the company card, right?
Okay.
So when it is outside of that, where they're using their personal card or a card that's not dedicated for business purposes, then that's more of a reimbursement, which then is a different area outside of this scope altogether.
So in the comments, because I always love doing this, everybody, the terminology expense claim. One, if you think it means the employee's just providing receipts for things. Two, if an expense claim seems like the employee would be claiming money back and expecting money back. It's just, I don't know, seems weird to me.
It is. It was foreign to me when I first heard it too.
Yeah.
So which is two? Which is
two was my way of saying expense claims should be like the people are putting it up, and now you're reviewing and saying, yes, it's okay to pay these people back for this stuff. Because, I mean, I just don't like the word claim. I think the word claim is weird, but that made me confused for sure. So thank you for agreeing with me, folks. So how do we do this stuff, right? I guess the next part we're going to kind of talk about is like the managing the settings of it all, which
go ahead.
This part of it, basically, when you go in, and I'll actually go back. They put this stupid pencil icon in the way, so you can't go back. When you want to get to your manage settings, it's pretty easy. You go to the manage settings button, you click on the one that says it, boom, you're good to go. And you're going to see the ability to manage users, categories, and then expense forms, what's going to show up on there itself. And we'll kind of go through each of these just real quickly. You want to cover these ones, Dan?
Yeah, so you first is setting up an employee to be able to do expense claims. Now, it is important to know that these are setting up as employees, not necessarily users inside of your QuickBooks. So you do need to create them as an employee on your list. And if you are using payroll, you want to make sure that you add them on your payroll list first before you can add them through the settings. And you can also do this with vendors as well.
Yeah, I was taking a look at this piece earlier and trying to play with it and get it set up just right. So again, having a user in is different than having an employee set up. You have to have the employee to be able to do this portion is a key thing to remember from what I saw.
And I stand corrected, or actually I sit corrected because I'm sitting. This is also for reimbursements as well, because you can choose the option when you're submitting the expense that you need to be reimbursed. But
that's right.
Bear in mind that this is going to go into the expense claim section, and then that is going to parse it out as to where it needs to go, whether it's just solely an expense reimbursement claim or showing into the bank fee. Right?
One of the questions is asked is, what if you're not using QBO payroll? So theoretically, if you're not using QBO payroll, you'd still have the employee tab, and you can put an employee as a list item type of a thing. And then you would still be able to put them in for it, right?
Yes,
I believe. Perfect.
It's going to list that as where that person is, right? So you can have employees on your employee.
My battery just went.
Okay.
You can have employees on your employee list and not run payroll, right? So if you're running payroll out somewhere else, it's just what list is it starting with, whether it's a vendor or an employee.
Okay. And another 1 versus 2. Number 1, if you think Dan's voice is sexier now without the battery thing. 2, if it was better before. Just kidding. So the other part you can do, of course, is you can set up your different categories. And the key for this, of course, is when you're doing it, you're basically creating a nickname for the category that's going to be something easy for your employees to recognize which one to choose. So don't go crazy with 1,000 nicknamed categories because you're just going to have people choosing the wrong thing possibly, and you're going to have to go back and try to fix it. But you can adjust and add as many as you wish and so forth, right?
Yeah, the whole idea is to make it to help with the employee adoption of this technology and make it eliminating the hurdles to doing what you want them to do inside of this inside of the mobile app to make it a little bit more easier for them to understand. Okay, well, this is for meals. This is for supplies, right? And that not necessarily concerning yourself too much with the actual GL account, which could cause some confusion, especially if you've got cost codes and account numbers and things like that they have to determine.
Great point.
So this is what it's designed to help do, is to make things simpler and help with the adoption of this process. Because if they're collecting their, snapping a picture of the receipt and sending that over and marking it and it's categorized, it's helping, you or the business owner to be able to categorize it as well. So it's helping. They're helping doing the bookkeeping side of things by just running the business, right?
And then, so the last piece is the manage expense form gives you the ability to choose whether you want like classes and locations to also be something that have to be selected or not, as long as they're turned on and available. Well, they would be available, of course, because it's advanced only, but it'd have to be turned on would be the key thing. So
now talking about submitting the expense claim. So, you can submit an expense claim from a computer or your mobile device, right? So you can use the QBO app to be able to snap a picture of that. So you're going to be uploading the receipt and then either manually entering the expense information, or it's going to, scrape the information and try to fill that in for you. I saw Ted from Makers Hub is joining us here. So it's certainly not as cool as as Makers Hub with what it can do with the data. Yeah, it will try to recognize what it can and pull some of that information into the area, like the amounts, the transaction date, and what the vendor is who the vendor is for, and then you can put your business purpose and justification in the comments there, and then there is where the category is going to show for that individual to be able to specify those options. So that mapping that you'll be doing with ahead of time with that setting of mapping fuel to this particular account will handle that for them.
So Dan, real quickly, I'm going to try to earn a free lunch with Ted here since we live in the same town. The difference with Makers Hub, everybody, is you can actually have the line items for it. And because of the machine learning logic, everything else that goes into play, it's going to adapt and better understand what information to pull off of the receipts in comparison to Intuit's minimalized, just basic total. Thank you. Just kidding. So,
and you can train it for each particular vendor too. So, and they also do receipt management as well. So if you're needing receipt management, look into Makers Hub for your Plus and Simple Start customers, because this expense claim process is only for advance.
Yeah. Good point. So, all right, back to the show here. So
he is saying that he'll take you to lunch after scale.
Awesome. So then you get to review stuff. This is what you were talking about, right? So somebody's put everything in. You're going to see them listed in the expense claims area, right, to review it or find a match, I guess, right?
Yes, and as it's saying there at the bottom, this is the same thing that shows up in the banking center. So you're just going to have that action drop down to choose what are you going to do with it inside of QuickBooks. You're going to review it, delete it, or find and match to a transaction. If you choose the review route, which I think is on the next slide, yeah, then that's going to then allow you to either create a receipt or a bill, depending on what it does or what it found out of that, and then you'll be able to add more context to the transaction now that you've got the receipt in front of you, and you'll be able to do your splits if you need to, and then you're going to be able to create that transaction at that point, and then that's going to match. I think the next slide is going to then allow you to create the expense or the bill in that transaction, so that you can then match that to an existing transaction in your bank feed.
Beautiful. So,
I've been
shall we jump to our second poll? If you'll launch it, please, Dan, would be great.
I will do that, yes. Do you use the receipt capture feature in QuickBooks? You are using it, are you using only the receipt capture, or I really need more functionality? Or yes, I'm already using it with expense claims. And then our second spotlight sponsor is our friends over at QBox. They are friends of everyone.
Yes. Got it open on my desktop right now. So for all those people that are still working with desktop, if you're not using QBox, I've got to ask you why. I remember when I first got started with this, we'd have to do most of our work late. We would use like TeamViewer or something to go grab a copy of the company file, pull it over, open it up, do all that. Oh, it was horrible. With QBox, it just saved so much time. It was great.
Roberta loves QBox.
Yes. They get a good team over there too. So
they do. And they'll be coming on the QB Power Hour after scaling. So the first one in July. So if you're wondering what the heck is QBox, we'll be talking with them next QB Power Hour.
They also have they've been working on another piece for some time now where it's like document management, where they can get scan in documents, grab it, push it in as well, and client folders and such. So I'm sure they'll probably tell us a bit more about some of that stuff when that happens. So,
all right, going to end the poll here and share the results. So no is the it's the biggest option. I need more functionality, or no, this is the first time I've heard of it. So this is one of those things that could turn into tags, right?
Yeah.
So the 26% of you that are not didn't know about this feature, it's been around probably 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe 2.
I didn't even know about it, guys. Wait, the expense claim part?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Because we originally did it.
Receipt capture, yes. Okay.
We originally did this with Michelle, and Aaron Walsh-Dyer came on the Power Hour to talk about it. So it's been quite a while since she first started talking about it. So I think at least 2 to 3 years. But potentially this could be a feature that is kind of like tags, right? If nobody uses it, then they're just going to deprecate it, right? So the fact that people are using receipt capture, but only 2% of you are using expense claims, that we could essentially see a reversal of, well, if nobody's using it, then expense claims could go away. And then the 2% of you that are actually using it would then be adversely affected if it doesn't get used. Now, if it's in this route of I need more functionality, then of course they're going to deprecate it or discontinue the service, because then that's going to require them to fix it.
Dan, they're saying you're jinxing it, and stop it, please, is basically what I'm reading out of that. So, Christina, the attachments do go into the portal like other items as well. So anything that gets attached to it's going to get pushed over. So, there's no better argument of why the feedback stuff, if there's a feature you're really liking, that's where you got to be putting feedback to give positive feedback, things you like to see improved. Even put feedback saying, I love this, if you want to really motivate it to stick around. Definitely do that.
Yeah. There actually was one guy who would call in and say everything's working great.
It only took me 5 years to get my custom fields, and apparently they announced those when I was gone. So anyways,
but rarely does the people hear about things that are working until they make a change, like they did with tags. Which, by the way, if you haven't been hearing about the tags, they reversed their decision on making them, on discontinuing the service or the feature of tags due to feedback, right? So this is one of this Lynette's like, wait, what? So they're not read-only anymore, but they're not usable for new companies if you never use them. So you won't see them. You won't see them if you've never used them. So, but if you have used them, you can still continue to use tags.
So let's be real about that. They're not going to keep them, folks. They're not going to. If they're not allowing future people to see that stuff, this is just buying more grace time to wean people off of them. I think a big part of it was they initially didn't even have a process to migrate your tags over to something else. And at the last minute, they came up with this pop-up thing that would work. So I think this is why they realized they needed additional time. So if they're not letting people in the future see it, I just don't count on it. I really wouldn't count on it. Don't keep using them. You hurt yourself for it.
That is a good point.
Yeah. So now, if you're creating these bills, you need to pay them, right?
Right. So I think in the last year or so, Intuit has launched, this newish QuickBooks Online Bill Pay, which it was the partners were with Bill, and then it moved to Melio.
And Melio, yeah.
Deeply embedded, and then QuickBooks Online Bill Pay came to be. So just as a recap, there are 3 levels of service: basic, premium, and elite. Basic is a pay as you go. That's what the PAYG stands for there on the screen. It's ideal for the low usage people. I think you get 5 free ACH.
Yep, 5 free a
bill
month.
payments on basic. Premium is $15 a month, and basically the option is there's a greater amount of ACH payments that you can make, and then they added the 1099 filing service. So if you are paying a lot of people through ACH, chances are you're probably going to need to file a 1099. So they add that as an additional option. But I think, what is it, 40 ACHs are included with premium.
Correct.
And then if you go over top, right, like if you use more than that, I think it's 50 cents for each transaction.
Yep.
And then elite is unlimited for the number of ACHs. And then it adds the additional user options with approvals, bill payment clerks, those types of things. So for checks, for all plans, for them to send them, they take 8 to 10 days. That's the time frame for those things to show up.
They have to cut the tree first for the check, so that's why it takes so long.
They've got the charge of $1.50 and it's for all plans. And then now they've introduced this faster ACH. So that's 3 to 5 days for ACH, and it's $10 flat fee for the funding. And then over the ACH is 50 cents each.
So Dan, Gene's got a really good question here.
Like 3 to 5 days is faster.
Yeah, not really. Gene's got a really good question that I don't know the answer to. Is there a way to transfer the bank info for contractor payments to bill pay? So if you've already got your vendors set up for making payments and you want to do bill pay, can you transfer that check information over?
Well, you should, but that doesn't mean that you can.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question.
And that's a good thing to point in there too, is that, with vendor payments, that was a part of the under the umbrella of QBO payroll, as being able to directly deposit to your vendor contractor. So there was this kind of subset of vendor usage, the contractor underneath QuickBooks Online. Which
then created a self-employed for them if they didn't have access to QuickBooks, right? And I'm bringing that up because that could be where it could get weird, because if they created that, the bill pay is different, possibly on it.
I don't know the inner workings of the money movement and which service is actually managing the the payment, but I know that contractor payments was under the umbrella of QBO payroll. So that's going to be where the banking information is currently stored internally. So if QB bill pay is not under that same umbrella, moving that might be a non-PCI compliance thing, and they may need to add that. Now, one of the neater parts of the QB bill pay is this whole idea of the QuickBooks business
network. Yeah.
So this is one of the advantages of things, and it's kind of going back to what we were talking about, expense claims of, the employee is just going about their day doing stuff that they would be normally doing. The QuickBooks bill pay is very similar to that, where if you are using, if they're a custom, if you have a QuickBooks customer that you're sending an invoice to through QuickBooks payments, or however you're sending it from QuickBooks to QuickBooks user.
Yeah.
And then, the recipient of the invoice, now you are a vendor to that customer.
So basically, if you're paying my bill, it's your bill, my invoice is what you're saying, right? And we're both in the system.
Right. Then that instance of you sending me an invoice / bill, then now becomes it can import that invoice as a bill to me for me to be able to pay. Right. So that's kind of a neat option, right? When you have this QuickBooks to QuickBooks user in play here.
It's supposed to speed up the pay time also with that, I thought. Just, we'll see for sure, but I thought that was kind of a key thing with it as well.
Right. So we just want to kind of separate, the advantages and disadvantages, right? So the deep integration with QBO, and that's what we're talking about, this invoices turning into bills when it's a QBO to QBO and you're this QuickBooks network, QuickBooks Business Network, where the sender and the recipient are on the same network. So if you're using things like bill.com, you're very familiar with, you create a login and then they can manage their contact information, the banking information, and those types of things. So that's what the QuickBooks network is designed to do. So you've got this all-in-one system. You don't have to go out of QuickBooks in order to pay your bills. And then now auto matching is this new option and functionality. When the bank feed comes in, it automatically matches to that information, and presumably reliable integration with other services like your 1099s, right? So if you are specifying an ACH transaction on the vendor when you pay them, then it will know when it comes time to 1099 prep and file, which was paid by ACH, which are excluded payments, so that your 1099 filing is actually a faster process at the end of the day. But right? So as we talked about with the login vulnerability, and I think somebody had mentioned that in the chat, that now that we've got money going out of QuickBooks in a path or an avenue for that to happen, I don't want to say when, but if your login is compromised, especially you as the accountant and you have access to all of these clients, this gives people, bad actors, a way for them to set themselves up as vendors of your client and send themselves money. So that is a bad idea, right? I don't want to say it's a bad idea, but that's a bad outcome for that to actually happen. You've got monetary movement dependencies, right? So we have all of our eggs in one basket. I just received from a client on payroll that they had an NSF charge for their payroll for $81 on a $26,000 payroll run. They were under by $81. And that then puts their account on hold, which now, if they've got money coming in, they could potentially have a hold on that.
Yeah.
It's now, this is like the perfect storm for things to either work splendidly or go disastrously wrong. Well, were you going to add something there, Matt?
No, I see so many challenges. I think down the road, this definitely, when they get some of the bugs out of the system, and I'm not saying or know of the bugs yet, it will be powerful, especially the business network to network stuff. But having everything Intuit, they might as well just become their own bank at this point. It feels like, because they're holding this money and they're moving this money and using the money in all these different ways. Do they have to have some kind of reserve for all of this that's going back and forth? I just wonder at times.
I'm sure they
nervous.
do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not a problem. It's got plenty of cash
Oh yeah, we all know. So,
But
yeah,
it's and you and I had talked about this double-sided coin of really cool things that you can do,
yeah,
and oh no, what happens? So I was at Intuit Connect. I use QuickBooks payments and the QB checking.
I don't like the checking.
With with regards to the envelopes and those types of things. And I was walking down the street and I'm like, oh, I should get some cash. I'm in Las Vegas, right? and I realized, oh, I don't have on my app. I was able to see, oh, I don't have enough in the checking account to make an ATM withdrawal, which was a local CVS right next to the Aria, right? So as I was walking there, I was able to transfer money from the envelopes into the checking account. And before I actually stepped foot in the CVS, the money was there, and I was able to take the money out, and that was really cool. But I took the money out, and then there was a payment that came in, and then they wanted to take their fee. There wasn't money in that checking account in order to take the fee. So they charged me $25 for NSF, even though in the envelopes I had plenty of money. So they didn't have the ability to take the NSF charge or not take the NSF charge when there was money actually sitting in the account, but just in the envelopes as opposed to in the main checking account. So
I mean, I guess the point of envelopes, though, is they're supposed to be hidden from your spouse. So that way.
I thought it was a Dave Ramsey thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's still kind of the same thing. So,
so we want to talk a little bit about the enhancements since the launch. So they now have same day ACH. So that's faster. That's what I meant to actually say in the first part, where 3 to 5 business days is the normal funding. Fast ACH for the $10 is same day.
Yeah. Okay.
So the auto matching is a new function. The ability to increase limits is the process or workflow to ask for that has been enhanced. And then if you are doing firm billing, where you're managing as the ProAdvisor the pricing for your clients, you can now split that.
Yeah.
So you can add bill pay to existing customers when you're in the firm bill section. You'll be able to add the bill pay to them, and then you can choose to have bill my firm or bill my client. So if you're kind of managing this as a service for your clients, that's typically where folks would do the bill firm option. But that's going to give you a lifetime discount, just like every other thing that is firm billed. That's the advantage, is the discount is for life. The price you pay is not for life. It's the discount is for
well put.
Is for life, because as we've seen every year, there are changes to the pricing.
Yeah.
So as the price goes up, the discount will remain, and then that will ultimately result in the price you pay.
Which is why I would bill my client.
Yeah. And that gives them the discount for the first year, and then they would need to actually subscribe and verify their business in order for them to even start using the bill pay if you chose a direct discount option.
So real quickly, one of the things I want to draw attention to, because it's telling you right there the idea that they have to verify the business. That's the key thing when you're dealing with different apps like Forwardly. Forwardly, it's a cool product. to get the fastest speed, both sides of the business have to validate that they are actually who they are. And it's because there's legal requirements to do all of that stuff. I think with Intuit, some of the process is a little bit easier to get set up because with that business network, you've kind of already done that, right? Because you've set up your account, your bank accounts, if you've done these different things, you sneakily had to do quite a bit of that, but maybe you didn't have to provide certain documents. So I think that's kind of a key distinction too with some of them. Sometimes it's worth doing the extra work with some third-party apps if you get better features of multi-bill pay, better, the matching, those type of details.
Yeah. And then there's I think we have a couple more slides on this.
Close.
Just that last polling question.
Which means I think we're done on that part of it. Look at that, Dan. We're not going over time this time.
Wow. Just asking if this was useful information. One of the other things that challenging with the QuickBooks bill pay is making multiple payments and the payment remittance of those types of things. So like most things with QuickBooks, these kind of services are the shallow end of the pool. And I was just explaining to a client before we came on here that, for the simple things that you want it to do, it will do that. But typically, larger companies, mid-market companies that have approvers and, they want to do more than what QuickBooks will allow them to do. Instead of waiting for them to fix these challenges, you may end up looking at an alternative, right? That allows you to do it today, like a Forwardly or a MakerSub or something else, right? And this kind of leads us to what we're going to be talking about after our little hiatus. We're going to pause for while we're going to scaling new heights. I'm not joining this time because got some personal things that we're attending to. But then after the scaling new heights break, we're going to be coming back and having our first ever app showdown, where we're going to have spending management platforms. So we're going to pit one against the other.
I love this.
We're going to have Corpay One on one side and Ramp on the other. So these are these things that work pretty well with QuickBooks Online, but you need more spending management control than what QuickBooks allows you to do. Maybe they're not in QuickBooks Online Advanced, or maybe you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket inside of the bill pay for those types of things. So you could do these spend management all-in-one platforms to be able to do that, and we're going to try to pit one against the other. There is no right answer. There's what works for you answer, but we want to make sure that you have the information available to you to make that choice. So hopefully you'll join us next time on the QB Power Hour when we have that app showdown. But we are going to have QBox come on before, so July 9th, they'll come on and talk about their interacting with your client in desktop for the 3% of you that are still using desktop, but also the 60% of you that are using both. How do I access my client's information when I'm using desktop?
It's the hybrid solution I always call it. You want to share the results real quick?
Sure.
And then, or actually, I guess that's just kind of questions, but useful, good. We always like it when it's useful. And
all right. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on the Power Hour. We have our store. So check that out if you need some swag and other ways to support us here and keep the lights on. And if you need some specific questions and you don't want to talk to Intuit over at School of Bookkeeping, you can chat with me over there. We have day, monthly, and annual options as well. Matthew, great to see you. And we appreciate you joining us here today on the QB Power Hour. Any closing thoughts for you?
Thank you guys for joining in. Appreciate it. And what do you guys say? Did I do okay except for switching the slides a couple times? Was it okay? Did I get the
one? Put a
Do I
one
get
in
the
the
new
chat
reward?
if Matthew did a great job.
I can use that, of course. So awesome.
All right. So we'll see you. For those of you that are going to Scaling New Heights, have a great,
Yes.
great session, and great conference. And it'll be great to see people face to face, and probably play some left, right, center, I'm sure.
Yeah, let us know who wins all the money this time, for sure.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour.